And just like that, 3 consecutive wins later, the conversation has changed.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. Today we're going to talk about how Pochettino has changed the conversation around Chelsea, what he's done to move Chelsea into the right direction, defense, midfield, attack, personnel, and indeed shape a little bit. We're going to talk about that. Of course, Chelsea were a laughingstock. Still lots of room for improvement, but if you look at comparatively at other teams like Manchester United, who needed stoppage time goals from McTominay off the bench at home against Brentford, while Chelsea were away, also going a goal down, but scoring 4 goals in reply, there's a lot more positivity about Chelsea at the moment. We're going to get into it today, but first, a message from the sponsor. A big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, ladies and gentlemen. Now is the time to get yourselves a VPN. A virtual private network is a service that moves your internet's location, its identity, over to another place. This is a desired effect for a multitude of reasons. First of all, security. If data pirates and nasty websites don't know where you are, they can't steal your stuff. Hugely important off the bat. We all want to stay safe and keep our private things private. But it's also good for unlocking media. We've all been in that scenario when we're trying to watch a video on the internet, but it's locked to our location. Simply utilize Surfshark to move to a desired destination, and suddenly you can unlock that piece of media that you previously were unable to watch. One of the many reasons I personally love Surfshark is because you can use it while viewing Netflix. That's right, if you like to binge like me and you've exhausted a lot of movies and shows on your country's version of Netflix, you can hop over to another country. I go from the UK to the US all the time, and suddenly I have America's Netflix library open to me. Because you're a viewer of my channel, you can hop over to Surfshark and use my code FOOTBALL to get 3 months free of this wonderful service. That's right, simply use my code FOOTBALL for 3 months free, or simply and quite easily click the link in the top of the description to go utilize this wonderful offer now and utilize this wonderful VPN. Superb deal. All right, thank you, Surfshark. Guys, don't want to dig out Manchester United too much. Well, yeah, I do, of course I want to dig out Manchester United. But I'll use them as an example because both teams, sort of mid-table, laughingstock, dysfunction, what's going on at the respective big clubs. The development under Chelsea has been apparent all season. Some media said this, people in the media, some broadcasters said this, certainly some content creators said this. I know I friggin' said this. The underlying numbers at Chelsea dictate the performances are a lot better than the results. Now, you don't necessarily see that of Manchester United. They're being dug out quite a lot. Brentford, at Old Trafford, any result against Man United at the moment. But for them to have Scott McTominay off the bench to score 2 goals, Maguire assisting one of them, rich with narrative there. I saw the highlights. That will buy them time. But comparatively, you look at Chelsea, both teams went 1-0 down. But Chelsea came back away from home, not at home like United, and scored 4 goals. Granted, Burnley and Brentford may be slightly different in quality. But the point is, Chelsea look like a team and they look like they know what they're doing. More importantly, they look like they've got a roadmap out in front of them and they know where they're going. Now, you can't really say the same for Manchester United of late, but I do want to talk about how Pochettino has done that with Chelsea. Of course, we endured some really frustrating results, at the beginning of the season, and we'll have a lot more difficult tests to come in the upcoming games after the international break, but also we will have players returning from injury, more time on the training pitch, and more good stuff and more data to analyse. Remember, Pochettino has only just arrived at Chelsea. This is his first 8 Premier League games as Chelsea manager. Really, really early doors. And I know it's boring and people don't like to hear it, but it's not just not only just his first 8 games, easy for me to say, but it's also a very peculiar and difficult time for Chelsea after selling so many first-team players and bringing through so many youngsters. So how has he done it? Well, we're going to get into that today, from personnel and formation change. Just a quick reminder, if you do enjoy the content, you're welcome to subscribe, and if you want to support the content, like, comment, and why not share it as well? Thank you for that, friends. Alright, so first of all, a really notable thing that has made Chelsea look better is a slight formation change. Now, of course, Pochettino has been really, really keen to play a 4-2-3-1. That's his most favoured formation throughout his top-level managerial career. And for a long time, we saw him trying to play different variations. In pre-season, of course, this was of Christopher Nkunku playing in the number 10, and it was a double pivot behind him. And Nkunku, of course, got injured for 6 months, and seemingly his deputy, Nkani Chukwuemeka, was also injured, forcing Pochettino to look at variations and other solutions. Rather frustratingly, he played Enzo Fernandez as a number 10, which for me really didn't work. It negated what he sort of did well. Pochettino explained this, essentially, he found Conor Gallagher more athletic, more fit, more match ready, so he found it safer to play him deeper, where he has to cover more ground more intelligently and be more defensively diligent. He saw Gallagher as a more viable option, and Gallagher, to his credit, has been playing really, really well. But ultimately, we lost a little bit of what Gallagher can do further forward, and we lost a little bit of what Enzo Fernandez can do slightly further back in terms of his passing. He wasn't playmaking like a number 10, and he was rather frustrating, and continues to frustrate closer to goal. He'll be okay though, he's a wonderful player. What Pochettino has done now is he's moved to a conventional 4-3-3 system. So essentially what this is Moises Caicedo sitting as a lone number 6, a lone pivot, a central defensive midfielder that's actually sitting in the middle behind the other 2 midfielders in Enzo Fernandez, in Conor Gallagher, who are playing as number 8. So Conor Gallagher is playing slightly on the right as a number 8, and Enzo Fernandez is playing slightly on the left as a number 8. Now, this suits them both so much more. Firstly, this is where Conor Gallagher played when he played for Crystal Palace on loan. Which got him loads of praise from all sorts of people and broadcasters. He became a sort of England international from those performances at Crystal Palace, and now he's playing in the same position. It allows him to get a little bit further up, but he still does so much defensive work, covers so much ground on that right-hand side, middle of the pitch. And similarly, Enzo's doing something the same on the left. Now, Enzo can't cover the same amount of ground as Conor Gallagher would be, but if you think about the left, it's a little bit more defensively solid because the left back is a centre-back in Levi Colwill. I think Pochettino has got the balance just right, so a slight formation change here. Of course, it becomes slightly asymmetrical sometimes with Levi Colwill tucking in, making a back 3, but most of the time it's a back 4, it's a 4-3-3. So this new formation has really sorted out a lot of problems for Chelsea. Now, not so much defensively, even in this slump at the beginning of the season, Chelsea weren't really bad defensively. There was a couple of individual areas that led to goals, but defensively they were sound, but there looked like there was this dysfunction from the back to the front and then trying to score goals. I don't want to go too early, but I always say games are won and lost in the midfield. And that midfield 3 of Conor Gallagher, who by the way is wearing the captain's armband and putting in excellent performances, I said in my complete breakdown yesterday, if it wasn't for Raheem Sterling being involved in all 4 of Chelsea's goals, perhaps Conor Gallagher would have got my Player of the Match award. But the midfield seems to be fixed, it seems to be solved, and that is largely down to a slight formation change, playing Enzo and Conor Gallagher as number 8s, and Caicedo sitting as a conventional CDM, who can not only just stop and defend transitions, but also can play make a little bit. And by the way, of course he should be good. He's the British transfer record. Which, I found myself watching him going, yeah, that's quite good. Oh, that was a good little tackle, a little, drag back, a little, move, shimmy. And I thought, well, he did cost a lot of money and he's a very good player. But you can start relying on him. And Chelsea have, whether Conor Gallagher will hold it down long term, which I feel bad for the lad. He's just constantly on this uphill battle for being accepted as this sort of starting 11 player in Chelsea. But, Romeo Lavia could come in and there could be alternatives. But in terms of the midfield right now, the balance is sorted, and that's largely down to a formation change. Defense as well, I want to talk about continuity. Of course, like I said just a minute ago, the defense wasn't really an issue, but seemingly Pochettino's gone for continuity at the back. Granted, he started Marc Cucurella right back out of necessity because both Reece James and Malo Gusto were not available, and both should become available after the international break, which would mean Cucurella would probably be dropped despite playing well in the last 3 games. Granted, the first half against Burnley he was really bad again. And I think it was the first half against Brighton he was bad. So out of 3 games, he's probably played 2 games really well collectively, spread across the 3 games. But you think just in terms of profile and being a dynamic right back who could comfortably get up and down the pitch as a right footer, Pochettino would probably turn to Reece James, you'd have to say. He's the club captain, he needs to be on the pitch, and then of course he'll have Malo Gusto, and you know, Cucurella is an option, which is good to know moving forwards, but continuity has been a really important thing for Pochettino. He's of course he's relentlessly kept Levi Colwill at left back, and as time develops, people are becoming more and more accepting of that, especially now in the absence of vice-captain Ben Chilwell being injured for a couple of months. People are just quietly accepting Levi Colwill at left back. We all know he can play centre-back, he is a centre-back, and should he slot back in there, it will be very, very good to see. And I do think there's still a future where just both Chilwell and James start, and we see Levi Colwill as a centre-back, and maybe eventually 39-year-old Thiago Silva dropped. But for the meantime, the continuity works well. Levi Colwill as a left back, you know, keeps that left-hand flank more defensively resolute, as well as protecting the aforementioned 39-year-old Thiago Silva, and who can play and play really well, but perhaps a bit slow in transition, can't cover ground anymore. And Axel Disasi, who's, 25, I believe, 25, 26, not one of the younger players. But yeah, looks like he is just quietly going around about his business and playing really well. Early doors, you know, apart from scoring that goal, I think, on his debut, he kind of dropped off a little bit in the first few games. People were concerned about him, but he's quietly gone about his business again and settled into the role and looks really good. And clearly Pochettino's very happy with Disasi. You guys know me, I'm a massive fan of Wesley Fofana, and long term, especially considering his age, I see Wesley hopefully partnering Levi for the future of Chelsea centre-backs, so the partnership there. But for the moment, very happy with Disasi, so continuity in the back four, and ultimately you expect Reece James to come back in at right back. So we've already spoken about the midfield, essentially continuity getting that right as well. I think largely it's down to the formation change, but you know, those three coming into midfield to show the functionality. A shout out as well to Leslie Ugochukwu, who can be relied on to shut down a game as another CDM. Basically, he can be an alternative to Moises Caicedo. Granted, in terms of profile, he's a bit of a drop-off at the moment. Still a teenager though, Ugochukwu. But he looks like a really, really good option. Like Pochettino smells threat from the opposition and he's protecting a lead. He has an option in Leslie Ugochukwu to bring on and just lock things down and be a sort of, despite being so young, a calm defensive head on the ball, a stopper, a transitional blocker, a protector of the goal. So midfield. But let's talk about the attack, the sexiest part. Indeed, the pointy end of the pitch. Look, man, Breuer it was refreshing for him to get his goal the other day, but ultimately, Nico Jackson has to remain to be Chelsea's first choice striker for the moment. Of course, he scored a lovely goal. His finish and combination was well. He should have had another. Mudryk played him in. He kind of robbed Mudryk of a nice assist. He couldn't sort his feet out. But the point is, Nico Jackson, not only does he look really fit and athletic, not only can he score goals, he does something that, for me, Breuer doesn't do at the moment, and that is these one-touch, like, back heel flick assists, these combinations. We saw him do it, you know, a couple of times in pre-season, most notably for that Mudryk goal in pre-season. But he's clearly got the one-touch, like, you know, without looking, he can play blind back heel passes to, like, you know, his attacking partners to score good combinational goals, which you do need in the Premier League. Sometimes you need to be fancy. You can just lash a ball at the goal all you want, but now and again you have to play through that final block, and to do that you have to get a little bit, you have to express yourself and do these little tricks and flicks. And yeah, Nico Jackson, despite being very young as well, has got it. So for me, continuity keeping him, if he can sort his ill discipline out with these, you know, yellow cards for dissent, which hopefully he will now after getting a ban already. I believe he's the one. Like, yeah, of course, off the bench, half of football probably should have had 2 goals. He should have had 2 goals against Brighton in the Cup, but they had no VAR to correctly rule his goal onside. So I think continuity, look, Breuer will get his minutes, I think Jackson starts, you always bring Breuer off the bench. Often happens with striker, one starts, the other one will always feature. I do believe Breuer will get his chance, he's still coming back from injury. He needs to be coached. Of course, we know Pochettino is a great coach of strikers, ask Harry Kane. I believe both of them can be really, really good. But up front as well, because we've got a dilemma now. One thing that we can all agree on, I think, because we're playing a 4-3-3, we're not playing a number 10, and that's because we've got no Nkunku. Chukwuemeka's, you know, of course, coming back from injury. Yes, Cole Palmer can play as a number 10. And if we do play a sort of hybrid 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, if someone plays in the hole behind the striker, you know, it can we did do that a tiny bit against Burnley. Gallagher would go in and swap with Palmer on the right, but ultimately it's the 4-3-3 formation that you can see on the heat map that shows you Conor Gallagher's a right 8, Enzo's a left 8. So there's no number 10 in the hole, but we're playing better like that. So in the absence, we play a front 3, and of course, like I said, we're playing Nico Jackson up top. And you have to play Cole Palmer on the right. This left footer, he's sort of swish, he's creative, he's confident. He's got 3 goal involvements in 3 games, I believe, and he's just getting started. He's getting warmed up. He took a penalty, which, you know, for when you're not scoring penalties, it can be quite high pressure for a club. He did it really, really well. That would do the lad loads of good. And for me, there's no other option. I know Sterling played really well on the right wing against Luton and I believe Liverpool as well on the opening day. But for me, because of the profile, because he's a left footer, you start Cole Palmer there. And then we go to the left wing and we've got 2 great options. I know Sterling was involved with 4 goals against Burnley, which made Gareth Southgate look like quite the knobber, not calling him up. But he kind of knows what Sterling can do. He'll see he's in form and hopefully he'll consider him for, you know, the next squad, the final squad for the tournament. Like he absolutely deserves it. But Mudryk as well. Mudryk came on only for a few minutes against Burnley and he looked great. He nearly got a wonderful assist and he looks like he's got this devastatingly appropriate profile for the Premier League. He's a really high-octane transitional player but can dribble, can do one touch, and as he grows in confidence, he will become an excellent forward for Chelsea, an excellent winger. Chelsea's number 10, of course. There is big, big hopes for Mykhailo Mudryk. You know, that we've done videos on how in training his teammates look at him and just think he's incredible and just say, you know, you do this in a game, we're fine, mate. We're going to be okay. You can look after us. Do you know what I mean? But then, of course, you got Raheem Sterling. Now, Raheem Sterling, he never looks like his head drops, but he does blow hot and cold. Sterling, he always has. He's like consistently inconsistent. Do you know what I mean? But ultimately, he will come back in form and score these goals and get these assists. And his long-term productivity in Premier League football, Liverpool, City, and indeed Chelsea for a bit, obviously, everyone at Chelsea in the last 18 months has been underwhelming, but that's mitigating circumstances. Sterling's a really useful player. Pochettino really likes him. He's our 2nd oldest player in the squad, and he's still 11 years younger than the oldest. Yeah, we will lean on him. He gets paid a lot of money by Chelsea. He's by far our highest earner now, especially since Lukaku took reduced wages. And he needs to play up to that. But he does. He's a professional. He speaks well. The younger players really like Sterling. They look up to him. He looks after them, apparently, at Cobham. And, he's England international. He's wearing the captain's armband for England. And he looks like Pochettino's leaning on him and he can score goals and do really well. So that's a huge positive as well. The long-term future is Mykhailo Mudryk, but right now, if while Mudryk's building up his confidence, if Sterling can come in and have involvement in 4 goals away from home, you know, very, very good indeed. Essentially, what Pochettino has done, he's tweaked the formation a little bit. He's found continuity in terms of selection. That's hugely important. He's like, right, I can start relying on you, take the pressure off him, bring him out, whether it's the strikers, whether it's the fullbacks. And he's massively, you know, reaping the benefits of a midfield that's developing chemistry and becoming a team together. And personally, I feel like Chelsea would just go from strength to strength. Granted, yes, I know, I concede the upcoming Premier League games are going to be very, very hard. But I feel like Chelsea can play against good opposition that afford them more space, you know. And the pressure will be off a little bit that they have to get wins. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, you know, to the upcoming games. Anyway, the conversation, ultimately, I wanted to say, before these 3 games was doom and gloom. Oh, I couldn't actually get rid of Pochettino, could they? They'll have to stick with him, surely, to it's coming together, boys. It looks like we know what we're doing now. So let me know what you think. I wanted to make this video to talk about that. Please do comment down below. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Do check out Surfshark because it's an amazing deal. Click the link in the top of the description for that. And yeah, man, I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys back here on the channel very soon. Right. Peace.